What's going on, everybody? I am back to break down this 5-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. We got a nice 5-gamer on a Saturday, so excited to get into it. Give you the top plays on both DraftKings and FanDuel to get you in the money, profiting tonight. As always, the goal on this channel. Before we do, quick reminders, guys. If you do enjoy the content, if you can please take a second to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. You don't miss it when I go live. That would be greatly appreciated. I'll be here all NBA DFS season long, breaking down these NBA DFS slates to help you guys become better NBA DFS players, help you guys win some money. And if you haven't checked out the sponsor of the channel so far, you should head on over to Parlay Play. Parlay Play, sponsor of the channel. We are doing a Parlay Play bankroll challenge. If you just joined, we have turned $10 into $285.56. Pretty good job. We were up to over $500. We got a little risky, honestly. So our record has plummeted a little. We're at 8-16, but just so you guys know, the more our bankroll builds, the more we're going to get a little bit risky with these picks. And I will have some more picks for you tonight. Use that promo code KJK003. Sign up. You get an instant match deposit up to $50. You will also get a risk-free $10 when you sign up using that promo code. You can also use the link down below in the description box. And I'll be putting that link in the live chat on the live streams. Yesterday, we went with James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, Chris Middleton. I really liked that game. It was fast, up-tempo. Both teams were dealing with some injuries that would give a usage bump to those 4 guys. Unfortunately, the game blew out. Brooklyn pulled their starters early. We weren't quite able to get there, so we took some losses last night. Bankroll still sits at a fantastic $285, starting with $10, so we'll take it. We're going to roll with it. We're going to try to bounce back tonight. I will be having some more picks for you guys on Parlay Play on the live stream tonight, so check them out. And if you are getting very serious about NBA DFS, you can check out my premium content over here on patreon.com/KJK_DFS. I also have that link below in the description box. I'll also be putting that in the live chat on my live streams. Very reasonable price for the package. You get premium NBA projections, NBA data sheet, player stats, team stats, play context, that's all that fun stuff, and my core plays for a friendly price tag of $19.99 a month. If you are getting very serious, would encourage you to check that out. If not, you're just playing for fun or you don't quite want to pay that price, then that's fine. I'll be offering free content on the channel all season long. So, with all that out of the way, don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my lock of the night as well. If you're new to the channel, Lock of the Night, fan favorite segment, I will be having that every day on the channel. Let's get into the breakdown, guys. As always, doing a game by game here. Milwaukee taking on Charlotte. This first game is going to be a fantastic fantasy point environment. Always is whenever Charlotte's involved. Their defense has been terrible. It's always a fast, up-tempo game, and it is a close spread with a 1.5-point spread. The Milwaukee side expected to be still dealing with some injuries. There is no Drew Holiday. There is no Brook Lopez. There is no Pat Connaughton, Grayson Allen, Dante DiVincenzo. So with all these guys being out, going to be looking like a bit of a different lineup here with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Wesley Matthews, Chris Middleton, Jordan Nwora, Bobby Portis. All of these guys are going to be fantastic plays. Specifically, Giannis, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis. Like I just said, this Charlotte defense is not good. Giannis is going to absolutely eat in the spot. He was my favorite play on the slate last night. He really let us down, unfortunately. He got in foul trouble in that first half, but I think he more than makes up for it tonight. Once again, he's going to be my top pay-up option. Hopefully he doesn't burn us twice in a row. I really don't think that he will at an 11-6 price tag, taking on the Charlotte team that's so bad defensively, as mentioned. And the fact of the matter is, they're not going to be able to slow down Giannis. He should be able to absolutely beast and feast in this matchup, and he is going to be a top priority for me on this slate tonight. So, Giannis Antetokounmpo, starting off with him. On DraftKings, Wesley Matthews all the way down to 3-4. Bobby Portis at 6-5. These guys' price tags, once again, too cheap. Chris Middleton at 8-2. Priced fairly appropriately for his upside, but the fact of the matter remains, against the Charlotte squad, he's certainly worth taking some darts on in tournaments. Bobby Portis, 200 priced at 6-5. He's going to be a fantastic play. He went out there and put up 47 DraftKings points last time. I think we could see him match that, if not put up more in this game tonight. So at 6-5, Bobby Portis will once again be a priority for me. Jordan Nwora at 5K, also a fantastic fantasy point producer. He didn't have the best game last night, only 17 DraftKings points, but I do think that, once again, with the fast up-tempo game, with the amount of minutes he's playing, he is a fantastic option. And lastly, like I said, you could certainly be getting quite a bit of exposure to a Wesley Matthews at 3-4 as well, playing 30 minutes, really reliant on his shooting, kind of a scoring-reliant guy, but he can shoot the 3-ball very effectively, and on a site like DraftKings where you get that 3-point bonus, certainly do think that it makes sense to be going to some Wesley Matthews. Running back on the other side, this Charlotte side has all their usage kind of condensed. You have LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, 5'8". So which of these guys you go with is kind of, it's always going to be a negatively correlated thing with this roster and with this rotation. Miles Bridges and LaMelo Ball are certainly the top two options for me, but their price tags do reflect it. 7.3 for Miles Bridges I think is actually pretty reasonable, so I will say his price tag is a little low. LaMelo Ball 9.5, definitely his price tag is accurate, but this guy's a guy that's capable of going out there and putting up 70 DraftKings points. If he stays out there for a full allotment of minutes, certainly worth getting into your lineup. Then you have the mid-range, like I said, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward would next be my next priorities, filling in my roster depending upon the other pay-up options and roster slots that I have. Certainly willing to be putting all those guys in my lineups. Kelly Oubre Jr. and PJ Washington would be the last of my options for the squad. Their minutes are just a little bit limited. They're kind of cutting into each other's minutes. Their price tags are low enough to where they can get there. I mean, PJ Washington's put up 37 and 30 DraftKings points the last two times out at a 5K price tag. That's fantastic. So once again, I really think you can be sprinkling all these guys throughout your lineup, depending upon the salary that you have left. You could also include Mason Plumlee in that category. However, they've been starting Giannis Antetokounmpo, and not really a traditional big with Bobby Portis. I mean, Bobby Portis is a traditional big enough to where they could put Mason Plumlee up there, but I could also see them going small with a Kelly Oubre or PJ Washington, and they're really not hurting them all too much to be having them on the court with Bobby Portis out there. So that would be my approach in this one. Kind of sprinkling those guys in on the Milwaukee side. It's much easier to be getting exposure, but they're dealing with some injuries shorthanded. Fantastic game environment, though, one that I will certainly want to be getting some exposure to tonight. Next game on the slate, we have Orlando taking on Detroit. This game comes in right now with a 212.5 over-under with a 2-point spread in favor of the Detroit Pistons, so expected to stay close. Not exactly the fastest game environment in the world, though, and for that reason, we might be wanting to limit our exposure a little bit here. We have some other games dealing with some injuries, some faster up-tempo environments, so my favorite play from this game would be Cade Cunningham taking on this Orlando defense that's just really not good defensively. He's been really rusty since returning from the health and safety protocols list, and he just really hasn't been quite picking it up to the extent that we know he can. So I wouldn't let that really bother you off him. I certainly think he's still going to be a viable play here. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay a price tag for a guy that's been a little bit struggling in, like I said, not the fastest game environment? I do think this is still a spot, though. I like targeting the Detroit side because the Orlando defense just really has not been good. So Sadiq Bey, Hamidou Diallo, both going to be decent values. I continue to say it, but I will continue to say it. With Cade Cunningham coming back, I do think that Hamidou Diallo takes the biggest hit, and his price tag really hasn't come down enough for me. Playing limited minutes the last couple times out, but that's tough to tell because they've been both absolute blowouts. So 24, 25 minutes, what he's going to play. I would still expect him to play in the mid-30s for minutes. Still have interest in him. Trey Lyles took a big hit when we saw Isaiah Stewart return, so at a 4.9 price tag, I'm really not too interested in him. Isaiah Stewart at 4.8, saw him play 20 minutes in his return. If he's able to get back up to his normal allotment of minutes, I do think that he's an interesting play at 4.8 here. But other than that, this team is really starting to be kind of just the Cade Cunningham and Sadiq Bey show in my eyes. Anyone else on the squad, I'm not too interested. We saw Corey Joseph play 42 minutes last time out. Once again, that was a complete blowout, so I wouldn't be taking that too seriously. Killian Hayes at a 3.4 price tag on DraftKings, I do think is pretty interesting. That's just a really cheap price tag for a guy that starts and played 30 minutes last time out, 24 minutes the time before. He could certainly surpass that price tag pretty easily if he's able to have a decent game, and if there was ever a time where he could, I do think against an Orlando Magic squad is a relevant time where he could do that. So certainly willing to go there. On the other side, we have Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., and Cole Anthony listed as questionable, so that's obviously very big news. If all these guys are out or one of them's out, it's going to be opening up minutes and usage for other guys. So we really need to keep our eyes on this. If there's no Cole Anthony, obviously we're probably going to see a lot more usage for the guards in Terrence Ross and Gary Harris and RJ Hampton. So those three guys have become much better plays on this slate tonight. If there's no Wendell Carter Jr., that's a big bump up to a Mo Bamba. He should have more rebounding upside, more usage, etc. He's only 5'5". I think Mo Bamba's price tag is very reasonable. He'd be my favorite play from this game at his price tag. I mean, that's a phenomenal price tag on DraftKings at 5'5". He should just smash at that price tag with how much he produces. And if there's no Franz Wagner, should be more minutes on the wing, like I said. So we'd be taking a harder look to a Terrence Ross, a Gary Harris, and a Chuma Okeke as well, especially if there's no Wendell Carter Jr. and no Franz Wagner. Okeke would get a big bump up here. So, yeah, guys, waiting on some injury news. That's a good overall breakdown of that second game. Utah taking on Indiana. Utah still dealing with a ton of injuries. If these guys all continue to be out, then we're going to have the same thing we had last night, where it's going to be Jared Butler, Trent Forrest. We saw Jordan Clarkson sit, Rudy Gay sit. Whiteside played. Royce O'Neal was out. This is going to be a bit of a mess right now to break down, to be honest with you. I'll have a lot more of an idea on the live stream, most likely, when we get the update on these guys. The good news is that this is a 7 o'clock game, so we should have the news before lock. But depending upon the way that this news breaks is obviously going to impact who we're playing. Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Bogdanovich, Clarkson. If Clarkson and Rudy Gay return in this game, which I do think is a possibility, they would both be phenomenal plays. Royce O'Neal would also see a lot of minutes if he returns and all these guys remain out. And I tend to think that they're kind of going to. But we really don't know. That's just me speculating. Hassan Whiteside at 3.5 going to continue to be a fantastic play. He was a real letdown last night. He only put up 20 DraftKings points over 30 minutes. At a 3.5 price tag, I mean, that's not going to kill your lineups, but, I mean, he should be able to produce a lot better than that. So if there's no Rudy Gay again, I do think it's worth revisiting here. This game does have a 222.5 over-under right now with a 3.5-point spread in favor of the Utah Jazz. So I'd say that Vegas line is set for Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic, these guys to be back in the lineup. So just certainly keep your eyes on this injury news, guys. We really need it to be able to really talk about this game at all, to be honest. So that's going to be some important news. Running it back on the other side, Malcolm Brogdon, Chris Duarte expected to possibly return as well. That's going to take away the Sykes and yes. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is talking about the last Sunday. Okay. So, yeah, Karis LeVert could be back. Malcolm Brogdon could be back. All these guys could be back. So, once again, that would take away the Sykes value, the Washington value on the Indiana side, the Lance Stevenson minutes we've been seeing. So, we're really dealing with a lot of injuries in this game, and it's really hard to talk about it right now. Just know that this is all big pieces of news, and we really need to keep our eyes on it because it could open up some more value on the slate tonight. And we'll have to talk about that in the live stream later on, so make sure you tune into that. The New York Knicks taking on the Boston Celtics. Next game on the slate here. Both these teams are looking pretty healthy. There is no Kemba Walker or Derrick Rose, though. Evan Fournier listed as questionable after having that huge game last time out. If he is indeed out, we're going to see some more minutes for Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quickley, more usage for those guys, so they would get a big bump up in usage and would become a lot more intriguing options on this slate tonight. As far as an overall Vegas line in this game comes in with a 207.5 over-under with a 7-point spread in favor of the Boston Celtics. So, one of the slower-paced games on the slate. Both teams looking pretty healthy at this point. I'm not going to have too much interest in this one. The pay-up options in Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle, Jason Tatum in a close game you could certainly be looking to. I will continue to say Jaylen Brown is my preferred option at a 9.1 price tag in comparison to Jason Tatum's price tag at 10.4. I do think they have similar upside every time they take the floor. Unfortunately, last time that bit me because Jason Tatum went out there and put up 65 DraftKings points. Don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal talent, all that fun stuff. But once again, I think that Jaylen Brown's going to cut into his usage enough to where he's most likely not going to get to that high of an upside game on a regular basis. If you want to go there in tournaments, sure, all the power to you. Obviously, it would have paid off for you last time, and it didn't pay off for me going with Jaylen Brown. But just being honest, that's my approach. I'm going to take the discount on Jaylen Brown every single time. If they both go out there and put up 50 DraftKings points, I'm going to be very happy with that at Jason Tatum's 9.1 price tag. I'm not going to be so happy with that at Jason Tatum's 10.4 price tag. So I go to Jaylen Brown there. Julius Randle at 10.1, going to be a decent pay-up option on the Knicks side. I'd say he's pretty appropriately priced over here on DraftKings, but still, if the game's going to stay close, he's going to be a big reason because of it. Robert Williams at 7.1, Al Horford, when they're both in, cutting to each other's usage and priced pretty appropriately. I will say Al Horford's price tag continues to plummet, so this is something I'd be willing to take a risk on at 6.3. He could easily surpass that price tag in a major way, so I know that he hasn't had the biggest performances as of late, but that's a price tag thing where I'd be really willing to take advantage of that. And the Dennis Schroeder, with there being no Peyton Pritchard, his 5.5 price tag certainly looks very friendly as well. He's getting more usage, more shots, all that fun stuff. And yeah, that's kind of a good breakdown. Like we talked about, Alec Burks, RJ Barrett would get a big bump up if there's no Evan Fournier. So they would have a, in the mid 5K range to upper 5K range to 6K range. Would be very good plays if there is indeed no Evan Fournier. Miami taking on Phoenix. Last game on the slate. Jimmy Butler is listed as questionable. This game comes with a 218 over-under. Both teams very good defensively, but if the game stays close, could be a good game to target with some high-usage guys. Jimmy Butler, obviously, dealing with an ankle injury. If he's back, he's going to dominate the usage. He could be one of the best tournament plays on the slate, considering this is a huge gap until the 9 o'clock game. His ownership might be low if we don't know if he's playing or not, so that's something to keep in mind. If he doesn't play, maybe you could just pivot to a Devin Booker or something, depending upon your lineup build, so that would be something to think about there. Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, both going to be great plays if there continues to be no Jimmy Butler, along with Omer Yurtseven, because there's no Bam Adebayo. So those three guys would really dominate the usage. Those would be the three guys that really need to have big games if they're going to stay in this one. And those would be the three guys that I'm certainly willing to get the most exposure to on the Miami side. Running it back on the Phoenix side, they're still dealing with a lot of injuries in the front court if these guys don't return. Well, it is expected that Jamer Crowder is available to return. So that's actually going to cut into the usage a little bit of some of these guys. Jay Crowder at 3.8 might be an interesting option. Really cheap. There's no Landry Shamet still at 3.3. That's going to take away from a Bismack Biyombo, a Jalen Smith, and JaVale McGee's returning as well. So this is going to be a lot less interesting than it has been in the last couple games with some of these guys. We've seen DeAndre Ayton's back as well. So Cam Johnson, Jalen Smith, JaVale McGee, all these front court guys that we've been playing, not going to be as interesting. And DeAndre Ayton and all these other guys returning probably somewhat limited in a return. I don't know. Ayton got his conditioning in at 7.7. He could be a decent play. I just think I'd much rather play Omer Yurtseven in this game at a discount at only 6.6. So, I mean, we've seen DeAndre Ayton not exactly the best defender in the world. He's someone we can certainly target. And running it back on the other side, if the game stays close, it's easy. It's Chris Paul. It's Devin Booker. Chris Paul is my preferred option of the two because his price tag continues to be too cheap at 7.8. Devin Booker, however, is the type of guy that always has 70 DK points upside. So if you want to take a risk on him in your tournaments, certainly do think that you could do so. It's just, it is that exactly, a risk. So that would be my breakdown there. And that is a quick look over there at DraftKings before we have all the injury news and all that fun stuff. Taking a look at FanDuel, let's break this down before I get into my lock of the night here, guys. Looking at the point guard position, once again, LaMelo Ball in a fast up-tempo game makes a lot of sense. Chris Paul, 8.3 if the game stays close. Donovan Mitchell, if he does return, is going to have a lot of usage, someone that I'd be willing to look to. Cole Anthony, Malcolm Brogdon, that depends upon the injury news. Kyle Lowry at 7.2, I do think his price very reasonably. If there is no Jimmy Butler, he'd be a priority. Terry Rozier at 7.1, producing at a high rate in the fast up-tempo game against Milwaukee. So you get the 3 points for blocks and steals, which Terry Rozier is very good at getting steals on FanDuel. Certainly like him. Cade Cunningham, a huge discount over here on FanDuel in comparison to DraftKings. So I'd be wanting to get a lot of exposure to him over here in comparison to DraftKings. Makes a lot of sense for me. Kiefer Sykes priced way up now. If the Malcolm Brogdon and Chris Duarte return, obviously he's an easy fade. Dennis Schroeder, we talked about him at 5.5 with there being no Peyton Pritchard. Certainly makes a lot of sense on both websites. I do like him over here as well. RJ Hampton, if the Orlando guys are ruled out, Cole Anthony, etc., could be an interesting option. He's priced up pretty fairly here. Killian Hayes at 3.9 could be worth a dart throw. Not getting too intrigued about him. Shooting guard position, Jaylen Brown at 8.9. Certainly think that he's worth his price tag here. Karis LeVert, if he returns, could be interesting. Chris Middleton at 8.1, priced pretty, once again, reasonably, with there being no Jrue Holiday. He's priced appropriately, I would say, but the upside is there, so he's worth taking some risks on. He's going to have the usage. Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, once again, sprinkling those guys in your lineups. Tyler Hero at 6.3, very, very reasonably priced over here on FanDuel if there is no Jimmy Butler. Once again, I would gladly take that price tag discount. RJ Barrett and Alec Burks both become very intriguing if there's no Evan Fournier, so we talked about that. Terrence Ross, Gary Harris, same thing if there's no, Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter Jr., etc. So those are some of the guys. Emmanuel quickly we talked about. If there's no Evan Fournier at 4.7 would become a much better play. So we've kind of covered this, and especially taking advantage of the cheaper price tags on FanDuel. Giannis Antetokounmpo going to be the top half option for me. Like I said, take it on a Charlotte squad. He got in foul trouble last game. He could easily put up 70 plus. I almost expect him to tonight in the Charlotte's matchup. I just think he's worth paying up for. He burnt us last night, but I just think he's worth it. Tyler Hero that we talked about. Kelly Oubre's worth taking some darts on a tournament. Jordan Nwora at 5.8 with this Milwaukee squad still dealing with a bunch of injuries. I think is a phenomenal play. With all that Utah Jazz news coming out last night, I think a lot of people avoided him. Had that news not come out, I think he would have been popular and he would have been a fantastic play and he would have burnt us as well. But fact of the matter remains at 5.8, that's a very respectable and easy price tag to be getting to with them dealing with so many injuries. Certainly would be willing to go to that. If all these Utah guys are out again, we could be looking to an Elijah Hughes, all those cheap guys we played last night. So we really need that news. Power forward position at 10.2, Domantas Sabonis. Once again, depending upon who's back for Indiana, he could take a big hit in his usage. It might help him a little bit actually having some other threats in the offense, though, having some guys that have some on-ball handling responsibilities back. Julius Randle at 9K, once again, take the discount on FanDuel and run with it. Much more reasonably priced than he is on DraftKings, so I love that. Al Horford at 6.5, once again, priced very reasonably on both websites, so he's someone I would certainly be willing to take a risk on. I know it's not the fastest up-tempo game, but the fact of the matter remains, Al Horford could easily outscore a 6.5 price tag, so I do think that's interesting. Bobby Portis at 5.5 is criminally underpriced. So he's going to be just a lock over here. That's just too easy to be playing him. So Bobby Portis, fantastic play on FanDuel. Eric Pascal again, if all those guys are out on Utah, could be an interesting play. A Jay Crowder at only a 4-1. He could be somewhat limited in his return, but that's a very cheap price tag. Might be worth taking some risks on in his tournaments if you need that salary relief. I don't hate it. And going to the center position, Robert Williams at 7-8, priced pretty reasonably with there being Al Horford back. I'm not too intrigued to play him. The thing about Robert Williams is he gets so many blocks on FanDuel. Last time he had 7 blocks. I mean, that's what makes him kind of hard to want to fade. But 7-8 is he's priced appropriately. It's getting tough. Certainly wouldn't hate it if you want to go there, but I do think we could go down to a guy in Omar Yurtseven at 6'8". We already talked about him. Fantastic play. I'm going to continue to be a good value as long as there's no Bam Adebayo, so I like him. Mo Bamba at 6'1", I think is going to be one of my favorite center options on this slate, especially if there's no Wendell Carter. He's been working his way back from the health and safety protocols. He's gone from 22 to 28 minutes. I think we see him play in the mid-30s minutes. And his price tag is just really, really cheap across the industry, so I really like him. Bobby Portis at 5'5", we already talked about. Fantastic play. Bismack, JaVale McGee, all these guys being back on the Phoenix Suns side of things. Really not going to be too interesting for me. And we could be looking to maybe some Eric Pascal, maybe some Udoka Azubuike, if there's no Hassan White there or something crazy on the Utah Jazz. But for the time being, I'd have a lot more interest in the starters for the Utah Jazz, so certainly keep your eyes on that. All right, guys, that is my overall breakdown for this 5-gamer tonight. Before I let you guys go, as always, got to give you my lock of the night. Let's get into it. And my lock of the night tonight is going to be Bobby Portis taking on this Charlotte Hornets squad in a fast up-tempo game. They are terrible defensively, and with this Milwaukee squad dealing with some injuries, he should get a big bump up in usage. The price tag has not adjusted. We saw him put up a big game last night, expected to do the same tonight, and like I said, too cheap here. Only 5.5 on FanDuel, putting up 1.13 FanDuel points per minute. Expected to play in the mid-30s and a 234.5 over-under. Looking at DraftKings, this price tag is very reasonable as well. 6,500, 1.17 DK points per minute. Fastest pace game on the slate. Only a 1.5 point spread. Expected to stay close. Way too cheap here, guys, for the upside. Get him in your lineups because he is my lock of the night. So there we go, guys. Bobby Portis, get him in your lineups, and that is all from me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please take a second to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. That would be greatly appreciated. You can also check out the premium content package over here on Patreon. Sign up for Parlay Play. I'll be giving out some picks later on the live stream. Use that code KJK003 to get a instant match deposit up to $50. And yeah, guys, wish you all the best of luck. Hopefully we'll see you on the live stream. If not, we will see you in the next one.